Choose Your Own Adventure book. I don't think it has a year on it. 1983 is the copyright. So this was my dad's. He gave it to me. And I never got the chance to read all the way through it. So I'm gonna try and just do a bunch of adventures, and hopefully the reading is nice too. So it's called Light on Quest's Mountain, and it has this cool image on the front of a fight happening. I like to play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm normally a DM. I like to be in control, I guess, but I have played a couple games too. So let's start. Attacked in the desert, you are Ren, a youthful tribesman in the 25th century village of New Hope in what is left of America. Catastrophic nuclear wars centuries before your lifetime have left your land ravaged beyond recognition. The survivors of the Holocaust faced a hostile world marked by startling changes in plants, animals, and way of life. Together, you and your monkey and lizard friends, Chark and Sars, have set off in a quest across the dangerous sand lands. Suddenly, charged up in a dune straight toward you, streams a howling horde of creatures that appear to be half men, half dogs, their weapons glistening in the desert sun. Your turn to run. You turn to run, but notice Chark frozen in place in horror. The vicious dogmen nearly upon him. You have only a moment to make a decision. One, if you think that it's too late to do anything to help Chark, and you choose to run to your life, turn to page 93. Two, if you choose to charge the ferocious dogmen in hope that by some miracle you can save your monkey friend, turn to page 140. Whichever path you pick, you are sure to find adventure on your way to discovering the secret of the Light on Quest's Mountain. So, I'm gonna save my monkey friend Chark, because I have a loyalty, and I like the name. So, 140. It doesn't look good. I can see the words at the end at the bottom of the page. We've got to fight or they'll get Chark for sure. Charge them, you shout to Sars. You point your spear towards the attackers and dig your heels into the Pinetto's side. Sars moves in behind you. As you charge down the hill on your galloping Pinetto, you see that Chark manages to snap to attention in time to pull his spear on the largest of the dogmen. The mutant dogs don't know what to make of your spiny plant mounts. They hold their shields high and attack the tough plant steeds first, giving you a chance to use your spears. Wave after wave of the ferocious dogmen fall to your weapons, and for a while you feel as if you may win. But for everyone you kill or drive off, two more of the barking dogmen appear in the sand. Soon your mounts are slain and you are forced to stand and fight. This blows their clubs. The blows of their clubs soon weaken you, and your spears are knocked out of your hands. All three of you are caught by creatures. They put fur skins over your mouths and tie each of you to a long pole that they drag behind them as they march off into the hot desert. The end. So that's not very nice. I feel like we could maybe still have saved him, or like been captured and then escaped or something, because very first decision, already ending the story. A little rude. So we are going to choose to leave Chark and go to page 93, which hurts my soul. I passed it. Here we go. Run, Chark, you shout. There are too many of them for us to fight. The monkey boy snaps to attention and barely manages to turn his Pinetto just before a dogman swings at his leg. You dig your heels into your own mount and move swiftly across the dune and away from the dogmen. Looking back, you see that the dogmen show no signs of stopping their pursuit, that bonettos must sense your fear because they move faster than you would have thought a plant could ever move. You thank the luck that you took them. Without your plant mount, you would surely have been caught by now. You start to breathe a little easier as the distance between you and the dogmen widens, though they continue the chase. Soon you again reach the metal machine. Still digging up sand, you hide behind it on the side away from the dogmen. The thing suddenly stops digging. In some way you feel it become aware of the dogmen, a greater threat to it than you and your friends are. The machine stirs, and you hear it shout over the noise of the dogs in the language of your people. More arcs to bother my garden. Well, I know how to take care of you pests. No dog is going to mess up my plantings. Several huge moving saws emerge from its side, angled towards the dogs. The barking soon turns to howls. Those dogmen who aren't hurt by the blade run for their lives. Lame blows from the dogmen's clubs have dirtied the machine a bit, but haven't even dented it. The machine runs its blades through the sand once to clean them off and puts them back wherever they came from. You and your friends sit on your mounts, watching with astonishment as the last dogman yelps out of sight. The machine turns to you. Please turn to page 116. Don't even give you a choice there. I think I should mention that I've never done a Choose Your Own Adventure book. I've done Choose Your Own Adventure, like obviously video games. And there was that Netflix thing, Bandersnatch, that I did, but I've never done a book. I remember them being popular in elementary school, though. I believe it wants to talk to us, says SARS. Yeah, but what do you say to something like this? It's rumored that many of the machines of the ancients were more intelligent than the ancients themselves, you say. Ask it what it's doing here, proposed SARS. Chark boldly jumps off his mount and addresses the creature. Metal monster, what are you doing here in the desert? Very tactful, Chark, you moan, rolling your eyes. You prepare to defend yourself against the offended creature. Instead, the creature speaks to Chark in the wobbly voice of a friendly old man. Well now, my sensors have seen everything, it says. Who would have calculated that a mutant species could develop verbal communication patterns? Do you have any other useful programs, mutant? I don't know what you mean, machine, but I have been found useful in many certain places. What's it to you? Chark asks with narrowed eyes. You hastily add, we are new to these lands, and we were wondering what you're doing here. Well, a pure strained human, it sighs with pleasure. I have been programmed to plant tropical foliage in this part of the country. Funny, I used to be able to drop a seed anywhere here and it would grow, but that was a long time ago. Any unit can see that planting here is now a useless undertaking, but my programming remains intact. Is there anything else I should be doing? It asks you. Sorry. You don't know what to say. It's as if the thing wants you to command it. I'm sure you're doing a fine job, you say kindly. Tell me, do you know anything about these lands? It heaves a huge echoing sigh and slowly begins digging away while it talks. To the north, right along the mountain ridge, is an airplane. It looks to be in good shape too, from what I can tell. The creature pulls out a wet fern plant in a little shovel-like hand, drops it into an already sand-filled hole, pours water on it from a small metal container on its side, and pats the sand down. To the southeast is a large oasis that I made. Did a rather nice job, if I do say so myself. Let's see, something that will last in this sandbox. The metal creature begins to dig 2 more holes, which it fills with sand before it can finish. Beyond that, high in the mountains, is a robotics installation. It sends me signals now and again. Then it adds thoughtfully, just started doing that a little while ago. About the only other thing you're going to find is sand, and more sand. It drops another plant into another filled hole. You know, my job would be much easier if all types of desert pests would stop charging me. I have had to go on for say you understand. Then you thank the machine and bid it farewell. You gallop a short distance away from the machine before speaking. We've already seen the oasis, but what is this airplane, whatever that is right along the mountain range? I'd certainly like to see that, said Sars. I'd rather climb the mountain, says Shark. After all, that's where we're supposed to be headed. 1. If you wish to go back to the oasis to rest, and then onto the mountaintop and its robotic installation, turn to page 131. 2. If you'd rather take time to find what an airplane is, turn to page 85. And on the previous page, there's an illustration. I think it's very cool of us meeting the ecology robot. So, I do want to know what the robotic installation is, but I also would like the characters to find out what an airplane is first. So I am going to turn to page 85. What do you suppose an airplane is? Asks Chart as you trot away from the huge planting machine. We're about to find out, you say. Yeah, but how will we know what it is when we get... I need to restart that line. Yeah, but how will we know it when we find it? Chark persists. Really, Chark, there isn't that much around here. It shouldn't be too hard to locate, you say, nudging your mount to move faster. You continue north for some time, staying in sight of the mountains to your left. Gradually, the land levels out. The sand is replaced by dry, cracked gray clay. A few gnarled, dull green bushes and tree roots dot the land. We've got to rest, you finally say. It'll do us no good to find this thing of the ancients if we're too tired to study it. Let's stop and eat something by those rocks ahead on the right. Sounds good to me, says Chark, nudging more speed out of his bonetto. You hop to find your mountain. You hop from your mount and drop your knees in a shady area. Whew, that sun sure is hot, you say, whipping your brow. The area around you looks so calm and peaceful that you feel fear and tension leave you. You lean back, resting your head on an old log. You close your eyes and fall backward, jerking into a sitting position. You turn as you see the ground around the log has collapsed into a huge hole. Your heart leaps into your throat as you realize how easily you could have gone in, too. It must be the opening to something's den. I bet it's not nice, Chark whispered. Notice that it's not dark down there. Something must be giving off light, Sars says. Notice that something very, very big must have made that hole, Chark shouts. We must investigate, says Sars. We have to get away from here, insists Chark. I have a bad feeling about that hole, and I certainly don't want to climb down into it. 1. If your curiosity is greater than your fear, turn to page 89. 2. If you'd rather play it safe, ignore the hole and continue on towards the airplane, turn to page 65. Now this is a tough choice because I am curious, but I also don't want to die. I want to get to the airplane. But we will see what happens when we turn to page 89. And we go down into the hole. You don't even get to announce your decision, Sars says firmly. The hole is just too interesting to pass up. He drops down without glancing to see if you're both following him. I'm usually the one who rushes in, says Chark, sighing. Sars sure hasn't left us much choice. Well, let's get in there and make sure he doesn't get too hurt, you say. You plunge into the hole behind Sars and find yourself in a lighted tunnel. You look closely at the glassy, smooth walls and realize that the light comes from a glowing moss that grows on them. The moss light lets you see a long way ahead. It's wonderful, Sars says, more to himself than you. I wonder what type of creatures could build such a home. Sars gets his answer at the corridor as the corridor widens into a large room. Ants. The room is full with huge ants. Each one must be longer than Sars is tall. A few of the giant insects notice you but go on nibbling on a giant leaf. How remarkable, Sars says. This species has grown to a huge size. and is greatly different from the ants at home. I didn't like ants there, says Chark, and I like them even less here. Let's get out of here fast. Oh, we don't have anything to worry about. These are worker ants, Sars says. However, we should probably watch out for their larger fighter types. Larger than that, says Chark, aghast. Oh yes, considerably larger, I should think. The warrior ants would probably fill up these tunnels with their bodies. Notice how much larger the tunnels are than they need to be for the workers. Ants don't do work they don't have to do. You feel a rush of air behind you and look back into the tunnel you just left. The opening is filled by gigantic ants sweeping towards you, its feelers waving frantically. It's a warrior ant, says Sars. Smell that odor. Ants often communicate through odors. It's probably warning the nest about intrude. Sars stops abruptly, exclaiming, "We are the intruders. We've got to get out of here." What do you suggest, Brain? The tunnel's blocked, says Chark angrily. Just run, you shout. You trip over each other as you find and stumble into the passage to your left. The warrior ant is close behind you. You speed up and burst out of the tunnel into the open. You stop abruptly as you realize that you're on a ledge high on the wall of the giant cavern. You stare down into a huge room lit entirely by moss plants. The floor of the cavern is a vast expanse of delicate structures shaped like beautiful crystal buildings. Far across the room, some worker ants seem to be spitting out a white liquid that hardens into the beautiful crystal shapes. You watch as an ant puts the finishing touches on the lacy spire. The spectacle of the strange ant city takes your breath away. Even with danger behind you, you pause in wonder at the sight. But then you remember your peril. We've got to move, you say, hurrying the others along the ledge that encircles the upper level of the cavern city. You pass several tunnels opening off the ledge before you look behind and find that more monster ants have joined the chase. Looking ahead, you realize that still more of them are on the ledge in front of you. Your path is blocked. Quickly, you glance into the two tunnels nearest you. One is dark and silent. The other is lit by the strange moss, and you think you hear the sound of running water somewhere inside. Which tunnel will you enter? 1. If you choose to escape down the dark tunnel, turn to page 141. 2. If you'd rather take a chance on the dimly lit tunnel with running water, turn to page 125. Before I do that, there is an image here of what I assume is us and Shark with, what's his name? I've been reading it this whole time. The other one, Sars, with his back to us, pointing at the ant. I think Shark's face is very funny. Unless I have Shark and Sars mixed up. Yeah, I think Sars is the lizard, Shark is the monkey. I don't know. But I think I'm going to go down the tunnel with running water. Because, I mean, ants in real life, I don't think they can swim. So maybe gigantic ants also can't. Okay. Keep my finger there in case we die, so that I can go back and change my decision. Remembering Sars' fear of darkness, you rush headlong into the lit tunnel. I did not remember Sars' fear of darkness, but okay. It immediately opens up into two caverns, one on each side of the passage. Both caverns are filled with neatly stacked boxes. If only you knew what was in them. Maybe it's something of the ancients. Then you spot a river flowing between the stacks of boxes into the darkness beyond. Quickly choosing between giant ants or the water, not much of a choice as far as you're concerned, you shout, "We've got to jump." You grab one of Chark's arms while Sars grabs the other. You give him no time to think, and then you all jump into the water below. A swift current grips you and sends you careening, but you manage to keep afloat. Your legs and arms scrape against the underwater rocks, but you are swept away before you can catch hold of anything. Suddenly, you feel yourself thrust out of the water, and you struggle to remain on the surface. Opening your eyes, you find yourself in a pool, being pounded by the spray of underground waterfall. Looking frantically around is cold, much colder than this cavern, so the lake must be fed by mountain stream maybe from a glacier. And if we find the stream, we find the way out, you shout with joy. It shouldn't be too difficult to find, Sars adds. Emerging from the water, you and your friends separate to look for the stream. You soon find a gently flowing, shallow stream coming from a high tunnel. You turn to tell your friends, but spot Chark among the metal rubble on the beach. He's holding a fist-sized oblong object with a small ring on top. You remember your uncle telling you about such a thing, that it was very dangerous. Chark, throw that thing away. It's going to explode. You watch the monkey hurriedly toss the thing far over his shoulder. Then you dive at Sars, knocking his large form to the ground. You throw yourself on top of him as a massive explosion rocks the cavern. You open your eyes to see the sun filtering through the dust and falling dirt. I found a way out, guys, Chark says sheepishly, sitting up. Are you crazy? You and Sars say at the same time. Chark, in his element again, leads the way up through the opening carved out by the explosion to solid ground. I hope our bonettos are still here, calls Chark as he races ahead of you. You find your plant steeds a little wilted but otherwise unharmed. Chark skips up to his and gives it a hug. We need rest, but you glance down at the hole that startled it all. I'd rather not be ant food. Let's ride away and look for someplace else to rest. You all get flasks of water out of your packs, give some to your bonettos, and set off across the desert. Soon you find another group of boulders and scout the area. Finding it safe, you camp there for the night. In the morning, you return to the oasis, planning to head for the mountaintop. We never got to go to the plain. That makes me sad. But, oh, and it says please turn to page 104. Before we do that, there's another illustration of Chark finding the grenade. So I guess I will turn to page 104. A little bit of a bummer that we didn't get to see the airplane, unless that stuff is from the airplane, and maybe we would have ended up there either way. I don't know. The oasis is a stunning contrast to the sandy desert dunes. There are splashes of color everywhere. Plants burst with shocking, bright, multicolored blooms. There are striped and polka-dotted trees, bushes in every design imaginable. The beauty does nothing to hide the danger of each plant. Each is spiked or jagged or concealed in bulbs of poison, just waiting for the unwary to touch them. Not even the impetuous Chark dares to look closely. Why are we bothering to look at all these plants anyway? None of them look good to eat, says Chark. We could be riding our bonettos. I think I'll name mine Daywind, after that area where we found it. You could call it Dead Duck after its careless master if you walk much closer to that shooting cactus, Sars says, quickly throwing a dead branch at a large, thorny, ball-like plant. A blinding white light flashes from the center and burns the branch to a cinder. What was that? Yells Chark. If you had studied more, you would have known to be careful of that plant. There are several others here that will do the same if you don't watch out, warns Sars. Red-faced, Chark looks down at his feet. We must find a safe place to rest, you remind them. Your friends soon forget their anger. Finding nothing immediately dangerous, you soon announce, we should be fine here for the day, but I bet there are strange things that come here to drink at night. We better leave at sunset. You two go ahead and rest while I stand the first watch. Okay, but if anything happens, you be sure and wake us up, says Chark, yawning. As your friends sleep, you explore further. You can't get too far away. Your friends are counting on you to protect them. Walking space in the oasis is cramped. Some plants you recognize as being dangerous, so you avoid them. But to be safe, you must also not touch the plants you don't know. One patch of flowers in particular catches your eye. You bend over and look at one yellow bloom more closely. The blossoms grow from a bulb-like stem that has 5 thick, wavy, bright yellow petals that look like the fingers of a hand. Curious but cautious, you stand to one side and use your spear to poke the blossom. No dangerous seeds or rays shoot out, but a gooey yellow sap oozes from the wound. When you bend to touch the fluid, a searing pain ancestors indirectly created us in their great struggle, many passings of the sun ago. But because of this debt that we owe your race, for our beginnings, we will give you the gift of understanding. Watch and learn. You see yourself among the yellow flowers, which you know are the collectors of light. Then the vision shifts, and you are looking across the desert beyond the oasis. But in a blink of an eye, the desert changes to a cool scene of green fields and sweet plants. The plants are tended by metal creatures that you recognize as belonging to the ancients. You travel over these fields to a huge village inhabited by the ancients. They look just like the pure-strain humans of your village. You could live like this again, says the voice in your dreams. Then you see this huge arrow of metal flying towards the dream village. The arrow explodes, and immense fire of unimaginable force destroys the village in an instant. All the people die at once. But the destruction doesn't stop there. The land is burned. Animals of all types and sizes die, or if they survive, their offspring are horribly mutated by an invisible force given off by the exploding arrows. This is how it started. You will see how it could end. The voice breaks in again. The dream blurs, and you find yourself above your own village of New Hope. You see the homes of your friends. Your own mother and father stand by the river. Suddenly, the forest around the village parts, and hundreds of metal monsters of the ancients move through your town, destroying everything that gets in their way. Your father moves towards one with his hand, with his weapon, is knocked to the ground. Father, run, you shout. The image fades, and you hear the voice again. This is the future that might happen. You must see that it does not. How can I do that, you ask? Go to the mountain of light and end what has begun there, or we will all be doomed. You feel the voice begin to pull and shake you, but when you open your eyes, you see Sar's bespectacled face. Ren, are you all right? We pulled you up out of those plants, says Chark. What were you doing in there? All that you have just seen is but a wisp of dreams slipping away from your memory, but you cannot forget the scene of your father being attacked by that metal thing. We have to go to the mountain, you tell your friends. I'm not sure why or even how, but we must reach the light on the top of Quest's mountain. No problem, says Chark. Right, Sars? Sars hesitates, then nods. We slept all night, Ren. We were lucky nothing attacked us. Sars grins pointedly, not mentioning that you too slept. I'm truly sorry about that. We could have been killed because of me. You hang your head for a moment and then rise briskly. Well, let's get going. The sooner we reach the mountains, the better I'll feel. You quickly swallow some water and dried food before leaving the oasis. The only thing better than a good bonito is a tree with lots of branches to climb, comments Chark. I don't know why we don't have those at home. Bonitos can't stand the moisture of our land and would quickly rot away, says Sars. We will have to let them go when we reach the mountain. No way, yells Chark. Chark, we're going to have to climb cliffs to reach the mountain top from this side. Can you imagine these poor things trying to climb a cliff, you ask? Oh, Chark says sadly, I never thought of that. Why are you always right, Ren? I wish I were, you say, laughing. Don't worry, we can always come back and find more bonitos. Remember, after this adventure, we'll be adults. I hardly think that, Sars starts to say, but is interrupted by Chark. That'll be great. I'm going to capture lots of these and sell them. You two will help me, of course. It'll be fun. You both sigh, knowing Chark will never change, and neither of you wants him to. You reach the cliff safely and prepare to say goodbye to your faithful bonitos. Chark's eyes well with tears. He looks away from you quickly, hugs his bonito, unleashes its lead, and lets it go free. No one speaks for a few moments as you and Sars do the same with your bonitos. Chark swallows hard and looks upward. The climb doesn't look too difficult, but it's a long way. Good thing we have rope. We'll have to work fast to get up there before the sun goes down, says Sars. This is going to be tougher than I thought, you say, looking straight up the cliff face before you. No, it won't. Climbing is easy, brags Chark, ignoring his rope and bounding up the rocky cliff. His nimble fingers and toes find holds where you can't even see them. You and Sars follow using rope. this would be easy and fun, Chark says gleefully. As Chark smiles down at you, the rock in his right hand breaks loose from the cliff. He scrambles frantically to find something to grab, but there is nothing. Chark, you scream. As Chark plummets towards you, Sars whips out his powerful tail and bats the thin airborne monkey like a ball. When Chark hits the cliff next to you, you grab him quickly, holding him until he finds a handhold. No one speaks as Chark, the wind knocked out of his body, gulps air into his lungs. Thanks, Sars, he gasps after some time. The lizard shrugs but looks pleased. The rest of the climb passes quietly and quickly. Chark moves much more carefully. Just when you think your arms and legs can climb no more, you reach the top of the cliff face. Pulling yourself up onto a ledge, you see in dismay that more mountains stretch ahead of you. Where's the light? Chark asks. Well, we're certainly not at the top yet. You look around and then point up the mountain. It looks as if there is a lake up there. You see blue water sparkling through the trees in the late afternoon sun, and I bet there's a stream beating the lake from the top of the mountain. We ought to be able to follow it up, you say, but let's rest for the night right here. I don't think I can walk one more step. You awaken in the morning, refreshed and relaxed. Please turn to page 56. That felt like a lot of story that just happened without really any choice for a while. So, yeah. Okay. Let's head for the lake, you say. Sars shrugs and begins to walk. Soon you stand on the shore of a vast lake. In the morning sun, the water looks warm and inviting. You bend over and slowly lower a finger into the water. It's freezing. Look, there's something shiny in the water, says Shark. Don't touch it, you warn. Sars leans over to get a closer look. It's metal. It looks like something I've seen in the village a couple times. But, he pauses. This doesn't make sense. It's shiny and it shouldn't be. It should be rusty from being in the water. You look around and you see more of the shiny chunks of metal in the water and washed up on the shore. Something or someone is dumping them here deliberately, and they're being washed into the lake by a mountain stream, you say. You remember the robot we saw when we first entered the Greenlands. It was made out of the shiny metal, muses Sars. Let's try to find the stream around here that could be carrying this stuff into the lake, you propose. You begin to walk to the shore of the lake with Chark skipping on ahead. You soon arrive at a swift mountain stream, dozens of the metallic chunks swirling in the eddies. You find the bank upstream isn't as easy as you had anticipated. Rocks, dead branches, and strange, dangerous-looking plants slow you down. Several times, to Chark's dismay, you are forced to step into the icy water to get around them. The plant life is getting rather scarce, says Sars after several hours of walking uphill, and the air seems to be getting thinner. My stomach thinks I've forgotten about it, moans Chark, rubbing his belly with the flat of his hand as he plunks down on the low rock. You stop, accepting the need for a short rest from the hard climb and thin air. You can't remember when you last ate. Your belly has long since ceased its grumblings, but your muscles, raw from the day on the trail and night in the cave floor, continue to protest. Chark pulls some food out of his pack with generously offers to share it with you and Sars. You shake your head. Save it for yourself. I've still got quite a bit left. After a few moments, the sweat from your climb has dried on your skin in the chilly mountain air, and you feel very cold and clammy. You bleakly finger your thin tunic and realize you must keep moving or slowly freeze. Your muscles complaining at the movement, you stand up again. The mountaintop is waiting, you say, pretending an enthusiasm you don't feel. Let's get going. How much farther do you think it is? Asks Chark after a short time. It can't be much farther, Sars replies. It isn't much of an answer, but it seems to pacify Chark. Your bone-weary party moves on in silence. It certainly is getting colder. Chark hugs his tunic closer to his hairy body and shivers. Just keep moving, you grunt. Sars comes to a sudden stop. He looks down and announces, we're getting into glacial levels of the mountain. So what does that mean? Spurts Chark impatiently. If you'd read your lesson, you'd know that glaciers are huge masses of accumulated snowfall that move like gigantic, slow rivers. I don't see any big chunks of snow, argues Chark, looking across the expanse of rock and low scrub. Even from up close, a glacier doesn't look like snow, says Sars. It's compacted into heavy ice. This whole area should be one big glacier. We're high enough on the mountain. The water level back at the lake was pretty high, you say, and some of the trees near the shore were partially underwater. This stream is high for this time of year, too. Halt! Where do you think you're going? Rasps a low, gravelly voice. A huge rabbit jumps down from a boulder and lands a few paces in front of you. It's even taller than Sars. Chark turns to run. Not so fast, the creature bellows. It sounds so vicious that you all stop in your tracks. Give me something and I won't hurt you. It laughs viciously, rubbing its paws together. Your mind runs through your scanty provisions, searching for something suitable to give it. Before you come up with anything, you hear a loud boom. The rabbit presses its paws to its floppy ears, jumping straight up in the air, then falls to the ground with a dull thud. To your utter amazement, your tormentor has become a mass of quivering, babbling fur and flesh. Oh, they're at it again. Make them stop. No more noise, please, it cries pathetically. The creature, whirring its paws and babbling on, no longer aware of your presence. You look at the others and see Chark's fear turn to disgust. Where's that noise coming from, you ask? The rabbit ignores you and continues wiring its paws and whimpering. Chark's spear in hand rushes up to the rabbit. Oh, quit whining and answer the question. The rabbit looks up and swipes one gigantic paw across Chark's spear. The long metal spear bends in half and hangs limp. The rabbit turned into rubber, wails Chark, hoping backwards to you and Sars. The evil sneer returns to the rabbit's whiskered face. Of course I did, and what's more, there are hundreds like me where I come from. When I return, I'll tell them to raid your village. You turn to look at each other. Is this crazy, cowardly rabbit telling the truth? 1. If you think the rabbit's telling the truth, you must go home and warn your village. Turn to page 123. Or 2. If you think the rabbit is lying and you wish to carry on with your quest, turn to page 129. I know we're doing this entire quest to save our village and everything, but if I climbed halfway up a mountain and a stupid rabbit was like, I'm gonna destroy your whole village, I wouldn't believe him, because like, you don't even know what village I come from. So, like, there's gotta be more than one village, you know? If there's only one village, why hasn't the rabbit destroyed it already, right? So, unless I go, hey, nasty rabbit, I'm from New Hope, then there shouldn't be any reason that he knows where I live. Unless this rabbit is like gonna dox me. So I am leaning towards the rabbit is lying, trying to gaslight us. So I'm going to turn to page 129. Okay. The rabbit's lying, says Chark. Let's move on. My name is Larry. Larry. Okay. That's so, like, they're all such fantasy names. My name is Larry, the rabbit says testily. We'll just see who's lying. Just in case, we're taking you with us, you say, looking at Larry through narrowed eyes. Chark and Sars move towards the creature, but Larry leaps high into the air and lands on a boulder above you. The monkey's right. I was lying, but at least I got away, didn't I? It sneers and hops out of sight among the boulders. Well, at least we're rid of it, you say. Then you notice Chark looking sadly at his rubber spear. Don't worry, Chark. We've got 2 more. That's just great, he says. I'm going to keep my eyes open for that rabbit when we come back down the mountain. You turn and continue up the path. You notice Sars bending over to look at something. What is it, Sars? I'm still puzzled about the glacier, Sars says slowly. You can tell from the scratches on the rocks that there was once a glacier here, but the climate hasn't changed, so it should still be here. something whizzing on past the belt out the opening. It's a metal robot. It rounds a corner of the belt and sails out above the stream. You stand up, dust yourself off, and say, "Strange, I have a feeling the light coming from up here somewhere, but we have to go investigate these openings." "Yeah, but which one?" asks Shark. You think for a moment before speaking. "If we go into the hot, dark opening, we'll have several advantages. If anything's in there, it won't be able to hear us coming over the noise, and something has to be making that noise. Of course, we won't be able to see in the dark, and we'd have to lead SARS. If we go into the cold, bright cave, at least we'll be able to see, but so will anything that's in there. And if we enter the third opening, the one robot shot out from, we'll be able to investigate that." You dive into the ground as another robot shoots out of the opening and down the metal belt. Which entrance will you enter? 1. If you think you should enter the dark, hot opening where the noises are coming from, turn to page 40. 2. If you think the bright, cold opening offers a better chance, turn to page 97. Or 3. If you want to enter the opening that the robots are coming from, turn to page 72. I don't want to go down the bright one, but I guess SARS is my friend, so I'm not going to make him go down the dark one. So I'm also interested in these robots. We're going to go down the robot pathway. Hands on hips, you stare up at the metal strip and think about your choices. You look more closely at the metal strip. The belt itself is about an arm's length wide with thick metal railings. The whole contraption is held up by thin rods and is suspended straight down from the roof of the tunnel. Once out of the tunnel, it slopes down and around a curve to the right and follows the course of the stream. You begin thinking out loud. If this is the same stream we've been following, then this is where the metal chunks come from, finishes Chark. The river is so swollen from the melted snow that the belt barely clears it. See, some of the robots skim the surface of the water and fall off the track and break up in the water. Look, you add, those rods holding the track up look mighty shaky. Bet we could pull the rod and send the whole thing crashing. I don't know, Chark hesitates. This place is the object of our whole quest, and we've got to stop whatever it is that has been going on up here, you say sternly. Another robot slides out above you, and you duck out of the way. SARS shouts, "Look, the robot's covered with ice." "Ice mice," says Chark. "If we're going to break up this operation, let's go." He waits for the robot to move out of sight, then moves towards the metal belt. Each of you walks to one of the metal rods. At the count of 3, you push against the metal rod with all your might. The rod gives slightly but stays put. "We'll never be able to budge them," Chark shouts, slamming his fist against the metal. You hear a high whining noise. Another robot is coming from the tunnel. "Hurry," you urge. All 3 of you renew your efforts at the support, trying to rock them loose. The metal belt finally sways, creaks loudly, then topples into the swiftly flowing river with a loud crash. You step back just as a new, ice-coated robot reaches the broken part of the belt. The robot sails wildly off the belt and hits the water, showering sparks and parts everywhere. "That ought to fix them," says Chark, rubbing his hands with satisfaction. "Let's go home." Without thinking, you grab his elbows and whirl him about. "Our quest is to see what causes the light," you reminded him. He responds with a sheepish look. You enter the tunnel quickly, ducking down once as another robot roars over your heads. SARS hangs onto your arm as you lead him through the dark tunnel. Soon you sense that darkness is changing into a hazy purple hue. You place a hand on your spear and press on towards the light. The tunnel ends in a small round room, completely enclosed except for the side from which you entered. You stand puzzled when suddenly a curved section slides out from the wall and completes the circle. You're trapped. The ground beneath you shakes and rumbles. A high whining sound fills the air. "We're going down," says SARS. As suddenly as it began, it whines and slowly turns to a low rumble, then stops with a clank. Ahead of you, a curved wall slides away, revealing a new opening. Your heart is in your throat. It's about time you've returned. There's been some sort of trouble with the conveyor belt number 4. The speaker is a tall, white-haired, muscular man. His face glows in the light from the equipment below him. He stands behind a circular counter that comes to his waist. Large, square metal boxes line the sides of the room. From the boxes comes a humming sound. Colored lights blink a staccato pulse from atop each box. Near the tall man, in the very center of the room, is a piercing bright stream of purplish light. It comes from a glass dome-shaped object and passes through 3 murky purplish black stones and streams onto a small opening in the floor. What are you waiting for, A36? Booms the man. What's he talking about? Chark asks nervously. He must think one of us is something called A36, SARS whispers. Then he raises his head and says loudly, I've already corrected the situation, sir. What in the world is SARS doing? Mutters Chark. Shush, you say as you watch SARS with growing respect. That's right, SARS. Keep him talking. Maybe you can find out what's going on here. I'm going to check out the rest of this room, you whisper. Act as you belong here, SARS says out of the corner of his mouth. Right. Despite your shaking limb, you straighten your back and stride off towards the side of the room. Behind you, you hear SARS ask the white-haired man, What's our next assignment? Master programmer, says the white-haired man. Silence. You whirl and see a blank stare on SAR's face. You must call me Master Programmer, the man explains. SARS sighs relieved. Yes, Master Programmer. What's our next assignment? You can almost feel SAR's relief. You must continue your regular duties. The program will be completed in 18 hours. With that, your host turns his attention to the equipment before him, obviously finished with SARS. Suddenly, before SARS realizes what he's doing, Chark asks the man recklessly, What program? The man looks up abruptly and begins to speak in an emotionless voice. The program was devised by the Xenon Corporation in the year 2321 to seize power presently held by the ineffective democratic government. Recognizing the current level of worldwide unrest, alliances were formed with sympathetic factions whereby other groups in the alliance are to launch offensive attacks in the form of neutron-based arms. Oilcom's role in the program is to maintain life systems in the major metropolitan centers after the attacks. This complex produces robots immune to radiation, enabling them to maintain systems necessary for relocated human populations. The man stops his speech and stares down the table before him. What? I didn't understand a word he said about that weird program, explains Chark. At the word program, the man looks up and repeats. The program was devised by the Xenon Corporation in the year 2321 to seize power presently held by the ineffective democratic government, and he repeats the same speech word for word. Why'd he say the same thing all over again? And what are we going to do now? Chark asks, obviously confused. We're going to continue our regular duties, you hear SARS whisper. You know the white-haired man can't be talking about anything in your world, so you begin looking around behind the metal boxes. You find several large, heavy books and open to a page in the first one. You can't understand them, but studying the marks, you see ones you remember seeing before. Teacher Merrill had shown you some of the writings of the ancients. These look like the same thing. This man must be talking about something of the ancients. The man's voice booms over the noise of machinery. You are to take your position at the terminals C and D on the left. SARS and Chark glance at you fearfully, huddled together, and scurried towards the left side of the room. As they reach the center of the room, Chark unconsciously passes his hand through the purple beam of light. My hand, he screams. You see SARS immediately clasp a hand over the monkey's mouth and hustle him along. You worry about how badly Chark is hurt, but your attention is caught by the white-haired man as he speaks again. It was foolish of you to touch the source, A47. You might have endangered the entire program. Go to Appendage Sector 3 and see that your parts are replaced. Then go directly to Conveyor 8. You have been demoted to the rank of B13. The source, you think back over to what has happened and realize that, just for the moment, when Chark put noise of the machines stopped. The light must be the source of their energy. Maybe you can do something to stop this fantastic plan. Trying your hardest to look relaxed, you walk behind the man to the beam, checking carefully to see that you are not being watched. You place the tip of your spear right in it. You expect the beam to affect the spear somehow, but you are not prepared for what actually happens. The beam seems to bounce off the metal spear and ricochet around the room, momentarily cutting off the power of each machine it contacts. The lights and noises from the machines keep shutting off and on, off and on. The white-haired man looks up, the counter opens, and he advances towards you. Your mouth drops open as you see the truth. He is a robot from the waist down. A yell from Chark snaps you back to attention. Watch it, he shouts as the ricocheting beam singes his hairy arm. Ignoring the half-man, half-robot, you begin trying to control the beam. You turn the spearhead this way and then that way, and soon learn to direct the beam steadily into the one row of machines. There is a loud sizzling and sputtering sound as sparks fly from the machines in all directions. Finally, the light atop the machines dim, then fizzle out. You look up quickly and you find that the robot man is closing in on you. You'll have to do something fast. You also notice robots streaming through a door behind your friends. You hear SARS shout, Chark, we've got to stop this robots. Chark dodges an oncoming robot and grabs a box of metal parts. Stationing himself on the left side of the doorway, he begins tossing parts at the robots. He quickly learns that if he aims at the robot's blinking lights, sparks fly out and the robot stops. SARS catches on to this and thrusts his spear into the lights too. The man stands only one arm's length away from you, still talking about the program. Carefully, you angle your spear so that it sends the beam of light into the robot man's chest. He stops and sways, and his words become gibberish. The project. Go to Appendage Sector 3. Man your stations. 18 hours. Program was devised. Your arm aches from holding the spear out. The room is now lit only by the purplish glow cast by the beam. Finally, the clanking and whirring noises seem to make a huge sigh as the machines and robots grind to a halt. The high whine from the beam of light is the only sound you hear. Well, now what? Asks Chark. I don't know, you answer. If I let the beam return to normal, I'm afraid the robots will start up again. Don't do that, screams Chark. I think the source of the beam is those three. Stones above us in the dome, says SARS, squinting up at them. They must be crystals, probably based in the same principle as glow cubes, but much more powerful. Then the dome must be the light on Quest Mountain, you shout, elated. I would say so, agrees SARS. Do you think we can prevent the robots from ever starting up again by climbing up to the dome and removing the stones, you ask? That should work, says SARS. I'll do it, volunteers Chark, the climber. Be careful, Chark. They may be hot, warns SARS. Chark scampers over to the catwalk on the side of the room, climbs the ladder in 3 hops, and swings from a beam on the ceiling. Quit showing off and get the crystal, you scold sharply. Okay, Ren, says the monkey. He pulls himself along the beam, hand over hand, until he reaches the dome. Licking his finger, he gingerly touches the crystal. We're in luck. They're not hot. Here, I'll toss them down. Chark pulls one of the crystals and drops it into SAR's waiting arms. The room grows dimmer. If we remove them all, we won't be able to find our way out, you remind SARS. Take only one more out. SARS shouts, a hint of panic in his voice. You look at your friend closely and say, Don't worry, SARS. I know that when it's really important, you can overcome your fear of the darkness. Chark tosses the second crystal down, and the room dims even more, but there's still enough light to see by. As he climbs down, he says, and I guess I found out that the water won't necessarily drown me, but I'd still rather climb than swim any day. Let's go home. I've had it, he adds. I'll second that, you answer. Chark and SARS each take a crystal. You grab SARS's other arm to help guide him through the dark tunnel. When you emerge, it is dusk, and your weary party begins to climb down Quest's Mountain. You know that the village of New Hope won't need to worry about the light on Quest's Mountain anymore. And you know the most important thing. From now on, if this situation calls for it, you're not going to worry about being a leader. The end. this is not something we did. This two-headed woman, and that's SARS, and like me and Shark are in the background, or I guess you and Shark. We did not do that, so clearly we missed out on something, but I want to go to bed, so we don't have time to go back and change our answers. Maybe if people like this video, that was just my wrist. If people like this video, I'll do another one where we can pick up off somewhere other place and see what else we can do. But a very interesting take on a like dystopian future. I liked that the rabbit was named